Everybody set? Action.
If you could dream it, you could be it. Make it happen, believe, succeed in your endeavors. Never say never, whatever it is. Better to live and try.
My name is Luke Guertler. I am a senior here at Olivet, and I am a film studies major.
This go the distance, never give up.
So this movie revolves around two door-to-door evangelicals, and they're part of the Catholic Church, which Catholic Church isn't evangelical, so that's kind of already a detachment from the actual Catholic Church. So I think that's kind of the first part where we're not really offending anyone. And then from there, these guys go door to door asking people if they want to go to church. And one of them, Damien, actually steals jewelry from these people's homes. Just anything he can. And then Kay is like on the total opposite side of the spectrum. He's really religious to the point where he goes to confession every day and confesses every single little thing he does. And then through that, we kind of learn about these characters, and then it's like a commentary on faith while at the same time making you just laugh as hard as you possibly can.
What are you doing?
She's not moving.
What do you mean she's not moving?
I mean, she's not moving.
Is she asleep?
Do I look like I know?
Try her again.
Try
Try it again.
I actually started writing this while I was at the Chicago International Film Festival last year in October, and I finished it right as we were finishing our first short film, and I'd been trying to get it written ever since. So when I finally got the opportunity this semester with getting Andrew and Brandon on board, I was like, of course I'm gonna do it. So we got started, and I sat down with Andrew and Brandon and said, hey, can you guys block out time? And we were able to schedule it and figure it out. And this time I also wanted to have a director of photography. That way I didn't have to work on cinematography, audio, getting the actors to do what you want. Because when you do that, you kind of lose effectiveness in at least one of the areas. So I got a director of photography too with Nick Rasmussen, because he's a phenomenal photographer. Just a really good sense of color, composition. He really is able to capture emotion with still images, which is something I have no capability of doing. So when I had the opportunity to work with him, I was just super excited to do that. And then a week before we started shooting, Nick comes to me and goes, hey man, I can't do it. I have a lot of stuff going on this semester. And I was like freaking out because I had sold my camera in order to have money to make this short film. So I was really banking on his camera, being able to use his camera. And just the fact that now I had no camera and I had no director of photography, I was freaking out. And so I told Brian about it. Brian is my 40-year-old friend here.
You're going to need boom holder. I met Luke through, I was trying to gather the filmmakers in the area here in Kankakee, and I just kind of put out a, call to action on Facebook and said, looking for filmmakers, and I think I reached out to Professor McLaughlin as well. They kind of just like, hey, tell your students about this stuff. So I had a kind of a round table kind of meeting of just like, hey, how can we, get more people involved in the film around here. Luke showed up, and it was about 2 years ago. I don't want to say he just kept coming back, but he kept in contact. Every couple weeks we would just meet and talk about film, and then finally he was saying, yeah, I wrote this film. Could you help me maybe find some locations and talk to some people? And once I heard that his DP did pull out, I instantly was like, well, okay, cool. I can do this. I can help you out. And he was just like, okay, yeah, really? I mean, because he knows, I'm running my own business, so that has a huge time commitment. But I was like, hey, let's do this, because just do it, right? And see what comes of it. So yeah.
I finally had a director of photography, so I was really excited about it. And we got together, went over the shot list, got everything planned out the way we wanted it. And that was kind of everything leading up to the first day. Before we leave,
We want practice.
so here's our gay porno mag.
Oh, that's awesome.
Our first day happened, and I was super excited. I was like, all right, we got mics, we got, everything covered. I got someone doing audio, I got Levi doing audio, which was awesome. And I was like, this is just gonna go like that. Alright. Yeah, give him a call. Hey, we're up at Feed. Not Feed, sorry, Knights of Columbus. Dope. There's gonna be like 8 students just chilling in the hallway, so don't feel too intimidated. Hey, Brian!
Good morning, everyone.
Alright, so to differentiate between our actual crew and the doc crew, Dominic is on the documentary team.
Hello.
Hello.
Genevieve over here is on the doc team. And then that's Diana.
Hello, Diana. Genevieve. Dominic.
And then actual people. That's terrible. I don't mean
Wow.
I don't mean it like
You're
that.
less people than these
Yeah.
Andrew Kelly playing Damien. Levi, he's the audio dude, so you guys are gonna become best friends.
Okay.
And then Brandon's Keg. So
Cool.
yeah.
All right. I will probably be asking your names all again. I'm Brian.
For equipment that we were using, we were very fortunate. Brian has a Canon C100, which is a cinematic camera, low end, but still a cinematic camera. We used a shotgun microphone, so like on a boom pole, you know how you see people holding the poles with the little fluffy thing. We use that, as well as using wireless mics. But that's the kind of equipment we use, all fairly accessible.
So what are we doing first?
All right, so we're gonna set up. We're gonna do the inside scenes because it's gonna clear up later. So do everything indoors first, probably, so we get some good sun exposure. So we're gonna start with scene 14. So that's just gonna be in the living room. So we'll just kind of look at the.
Okay.
So you guys can sit tight, do some scripts, do your thing.
Mocked me. I like the acoustics. Beat.
Yo, when it comes to the part where you dump the water into my bath, I'm gonna like go to hit you, like, dude, you got something to say, but I'm gonna hit your hand like at the bottom of the glass, so just
Okay. It's kind of like one of those.
yeah, like I'm gonna hit you there, and you just
Got it. What page is that?
That's 17.
Are we shooting that today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're shooting all the ride stuff today.
Behind the scenes.
Cool.
I'm prepared, aren't you?
This is gonna be great.
It's gonna be awesome, man. I'm already having fun.
Oh, dressing as Damien. That was, oh boy.
I've never worn white shorts in my life. I haven't even worn shorts in like 10 years.
I literally haven't worn shorts since I was like a child. So that whole, my legs were so pale. It was, oh.
How does it feel?
It feels ridiculous.
That is something I never want to experience again. I hate the way that Damien dresses. He wears old man clothes. Who the heck at my age wears like grandpa shirts? Other than Luke, maybe. I don't know. He kept telling me throughout the whole filming process, I'm keeping these shirts. They're awesome. Like, fine, whatever, have them. But there are not enough words in the English language to describe how much I hated dressing as Damien. But it did get me more into the character because it was so out of my comfort zone. It brought me out of my comfort zone with Damien. So I guess in a way that was a good thing, but I would not put those stupid white shorts on again if you paid me for it.
So I can't hear anything now. I got it.
Well, they're not speaking or anything. So.
No, like look right here. See how you have the number?
That changes as.
Oh, it changes as the.
That's the actual like game.
Oh. Then you know what you're doing. I apologize.
Are you telling the audio guy how to do his job?
Yeah, I know,
As
right?
they speak.
Yeah, I'm the asshole here. Call me out. And we show up to shoot, and the mics aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're getting a lot of muffled scratching. We were just like couldn't figure out what it was, and I was freaking out because like I have all these actors here. The documentary team that we're doing this for was there, and just I was freaking out because it's like this is all on me. If we fail, like it looks bad on me. And so finally, thank goodness, we got the mics figured out. And the funniest thing was the way I learned to wire mics was not at all working for us. And basically, so the gaff tape, you're gonna make triangles, and they're gonna go on either side. So we totally scrapped it, and we just did a very basic, simple miking technique, and it worked great.
What speed are you going?
20.
That's cool. I'm gonna say that looks pretty fast. So.
Do you want to put your seatbelt on, or does it matter at this point?
Pete Worth played Raj, the gay old dude. The funny thing about that is Raj was supposed to be this like older gay guy, and it turns out Pete's like 30. So like, it worked. It works. He's a real creepy dude. Not by nature. Well, maybe by nature. I don't know him that well. But Pete was good. He's not really an actor, so like that was kind of a struggle, and it shows a little bit, in the final product. There were moments where he was hilarious. Just had us all dying laughing.
Cheek, nipple, belly, toes, and very close to penis. Yes.
All right, let's do this then.
Pete was great. He was really welcoming. We went into his house and filmed all his stuff. He was funny in between takes and stuff. He cracked some jokes, and he's really friendly. And I really thought he was talented. Being one-on-one with him, I wasn't nervous at all. Even when he was all up in my grill, putting his hand on my thigh.
Cut. That's a wrap. It's real. It's real. Let's go. So we got through the first day, and it was really laboring, and I was like, after we got done shooting, I was like, this is gonna be the longest project ever. Location scouting. So Dominic followed me around going places, so because we needed a burger joint and churches.
From the New Hampshire, the NH. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, so I actually brought a suit jacket so I can look more professional. I might not wear it. Like, look at all this. You know? You seeing what I'm seeing? I'm not wearing it. There's so much fuzz. There's literally so much. Look at this. There's so much fuzz. No.
It's not that bad.
It is bad. No, I don't like it. We're not doing it. So this church is also closed. So let's just go. Let's just go.
It was really funny because like all this anticipation, and it would just each time the door's locked, and we're like, ah. And like growing up in the church, I always kind of thought like the church was open like 9 to 5 hours. Like you could walk in and talk to a priest or whatever. But we finally locked down the burger joint location, and I'm in contact right now for the church. So fingers crossed on that. We got a place to shoot. Well, we got 2 places to shoot now, so woo! Alright, that's way too much. I'm really excited though, this is gonna be great. So fingers crossed on the Catholic Church, let's go. We were shooting the following day, which those were gonna be all of our scenes with Brandon, who plays Kay, doing his confessions with Father Dick.
Kay is like a little bit of everyone. I know he's got some insecurities about what he believes and stuff, and he tries to hide behind certain parts of his religion rather than change and like use his faith to move forward.
So we had Brian Prairie, my friend. He was also cinematographer, audio, had a lot of hats. He also played Father Dick. And the reason I kind of was like, oh, Brian will fit is one, he's someone I know and someone who's already working in the project, but he also has this like, I don't want to say he's monotone all the time, but he can get to like a monotone level of just absolute disappointment. And that's kind of what I was going for with Father Dick, is because he's tired of Kay's use of religion, and it's pretty evident in the script and in the final product.
When he said, hey, I want you to be Father Dick, I'm like, okay, and he explained the character to me. Like, he goes, it's pretty much you, Brian. You're just, a caricature of you. Just, somebody that's kind of, passe and just kind of sick of life. Well, I'm not sick of life, but just, but he approached me with the Father Dick thing, and I was like, okay, and it's the thing, I love helping out, and I also like to challenge myself as well. But I really did enjoy playing the Father Dick part, just because that's not something I get to do all the time, and it was fun. It was fun and a little bit exciting as well.
Yeah. Since my last confession, I took the Lord's name in vain. I cursed my brother. I also disrespected my mother.
You're a piece of shit. Get out of here.
Yeah, what's really going through his mind. I wonder if a priest has actually found that before. Like, oh my God.
100%.
Oh, probably.
100%.
They're human, right?
Yeah.
Luke needed a confessional for this film, and he called a few churches. Nobody really got back to him, and the ones that did, I don't think really had a traditional confessional that he wanted. He needed a wall and a screen essentially between it. He came up with the idea that hey, let's just build something. He actually came to my house, had some materials in his car, and then I was like, well, we can maybe save a little money, because he bought some paneling that we were going to use and then cut a hole through that. I told him, I go, well, I have this door that just is sitting around that I'm not using. I really don't know what to do with, so let's cut a hole in it and see how it looks. So we cut a hole in this door, and it actually looked pretty good. So we're like, okay, let's put the screen in there. Yeah, we spent a Saturday afternoon essentially turning a door into a confessional sectional, and then it essentially turned my office into the confessional to shoot it, and just made it a very dark, kind of room. In the end, we kind of just changed the idea a little bit, but we made a decent looking confessional, and it worked for the scene, and that's really all that mattered.
The command that was in the room, just like me and Brian were working better off of each other. We had the audio right away, and it just felt so much better when we got done shooting. It was a really good day.
Look at this. See that? 22%.
You got a tattoo of your turnover rate on your body?
Oh, I didn't get a tattoo. I wrote it on. But you're missing the point.
When did you write that up?
Yesterday.
Did you shower since then?
I showered since then. That's beside the point, all right? It's pride, taking pride in your work, okay?
Sure.
Good.
Brandon plays Kay, who's a very skittish, kind of overemphasizes things, and he really brought a lot of emotion to the character. A lot of his ad-libbing stuff was good, even though a lot of his ad-libbing stuff was good, and his willingness to be a part of the project too was also good.
Brandon was quite the character. He's a very funny guy, and he has so much energy and never really turns it off. He's just always, looking for the next, laugh, and he gets it usually. I found it very funny that we would go to do a scene, and somebody, like with the cookies, how we toasted the dead woman, and he would go, "Oh, that's funny," like he never read it before. I'm like, okay, whatever. But he was fun to work with. He's a pretty good actor. He knows how to get a laugh out of people, and I enjoyed working with him. He was very on par with what was going on with the character. There's a lot of just waiting around. I've heard that there's a lot of hurry up and wait, and this kind of proves it.
So much waiting.
Which is fine. I mean, it's a fun thing to do still, but there's a lot of waiting involved. A lot of standing around, messing with other cameras because you're bored.
Yeah.
So that's why you're here right now, is because we're bored. We've got nothing else to do but to talk to you.
Nothing else to do.
So we're gonna keep talking. None of this really matters at all. Like, I could just keep talking forever.
You could do
ever, and just keep talking.
Andrew, on the other hand, plays Damien, our guy who steals things. Damien's super cocky and extroverted and talking to people, and while Andrew can do that stuff, like just in a day-to-day interaction with him, I never really put him under that category. But the cool thing about it is I had an intro to acting class with him, and I really liked his performance, and I just wanted to work with him because it's always a great experience to work with new actors. Just seeing Andrew work and the amount of professionalism in his craft, like, I would say he's definitely not there yet acting-wise, but like the drive he has, and there's so much potential in him, and just he wants to learn, he wants to help, he wants to do what he can to get the job done. And that's what I admire about him.
Andrew is really cool. I love Andrew. I'm glad I finally got to work with him. I always respected Andrew, and I thought he was cool. We were never like best buddies or anything. Like, we said hi to each other. We had intro to acting together, and so I saw him in some scenes, and I thought he was really good. But we never really talked for a long time. I think the big shell shock moment was when we went to the rec, and me, him, and Luke ran through a couple of the scenes just to read through, and I got to experience his sense of humor, which was a far cry from what I thought Andrew was, because Andrew always seemed like this reserved, quiet, suave, sunglasses type guy. Damien's a riot, and I love what Andrew does with him, because Andrew is so good at just the straight humor, just the dry, where he'll just say a line and not show a lot of emotion. It's just so funny, and I love that about him and the character. I would pick him up sometimes early in the morning, and we'd drive to set, and we would just talk. It's not always about the script. We'd complain a lot about what we were about to do. We'd be like, I don't want to do this. It'd be early in the morning, and so we'd be like, I don't feel like doing this. This sucks, whatever. But then, especially on the way back, after we were done for the day, when we felt a lot better, we would just talk about whatever, our families, what was going on. So it was cool to get to know him.
All right, faggots. Give me everything you got. How'd that look, Brian?
Looks good because I can just see the gun.
The third day of shooting was probably, I would say, our longest day. We started at 8 and we didn't get done till about 6. So 10-hour day, and it was cold, and I just remember rolling up to where we were shooting right away. Brian was late, and I was like, it's okay, whatever. And then, so Brian shows up, we start getting set up, and our actors are nowhere to be found. And I'm like freaking out a little bit. I'm calling home, I'm like, I can't do this. Like, as I'm going to get like donuts and coffee for everyone. And thankfully they showed up, and we were able to shoot it right away, the first scene.
I remember one morning, I picked up Andrew, and we were on our way to set, and that was a day where it was super, super cold. And we filmed like one of the opening shots with Kay and Damien, where we were walking through this alley. It was so cold that day. And on the way there, me and Andrew were just kind of like complaining about Luke, like on and on and on. Not like really mean, but just like little things and stuff. And then we got the set, and he had donuts and coffee for us. And he's like, yeah, go ahead and dig in, we're gonna get set up. And we just sat there for a bit, and we're like, I guess he's all right.
And then we're running around town. We show up to Nero's, and we were in and out of our burger joint on location. Like, it was so fast and so well done. I'm very thankful for everything falling into place for this. And then the last scene of the day, we were in the middle of nowhere. It was getting to about 40 degrees, 35 degrees, and this is the scene where they get stranded in the middle of nowhere. Damien and Kay, Andrew and all they have on is their tighty whities. And it was really cold, but the thing about it was they weren't wanting to do it. They weren't wanting to strip down. Even though they'd already agreed to do the thing, they like weren't feeling it.
I remember very young when I first got the script, I came and talked to Luke at lunch and I was like, listen, I didn't see the underwear part and I'm kind of uncomfortable. And he was like, so like understanding. He's like, listen, Brandon, I'm totally on your side. Like, if you're uncomfortable with this, like, I'll work with you, we'll do something, maybe we can do boxers, you know, anything you want, blah, 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 talking about it. And so I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And then, like, weeks go by, and then it got to the day where we were gonna do that scene, and I was like, oh, Luke, we haven't really talked about this. And he was like, dude, stop being a baby, just do it. And in that moment, I was like, you bad man, you said you would be understanding and would be delicate with my emotions. But in retrospect, now that we filmed the scene, like, I was like low-key, I was pretty angry when we were like about to film the scene. I was like, I do not want to do this. He convinced me to do the underwear scene as he was like, no, we're not putting this on YouTube. Nobody's gonna see it. It's just gonna be like professional people. It's gonna be awesome. Your privacy is sacred to me, Brandon. And I was like, awesome, Luke, that's awesome. And then, like 2 days after we shot that scene, I was going into the comm Unity room or whatever, and one of my friends was like, I can never look at you the same way. Exact quote, that's what she said to me. And I was like, why? And she shows me this Instagram photo that Luke took of the three of us in our tighty whities out in the middle of a field, and I was like, Luke Guertler, you piece of trash. But I contacted him, and he was like, oop, deleted it.
I haven't worn whitey tighties in probably 10 years, and when I was approached by Luke initially and read the script and found that I would possibly, if I take this script, have to stand outside in nothing but whitey tighties, I was a little concerned. But it turned out fine. It was freezing that day. It was like 35 degrees, and I actually did. I didn't ever tell Luke this, but I was thinking as I was reading over the script, how can I keep from like, because whitey tighties were pretty revealing. I was like, how can I keep from like showing my entire junk to the world? And I was like, oh, I'll stuff. That seems like something that Damien does. And so I suggested it to Luke as like a comedy element when I was really just protecting my manhood. So it worked. It worked. I got the stuff for the film, and it was ridiculous looking, and it did turn out funny, but it also kept me very warm down there, so that's a very important point. It kept me very, very warm and secure on a very cold day.
Of course, I had to offer to strip down with him as well, so I'm just in my tighty whities, you know, helping Mike, directing, like not even on camera, just, and it was cold. Yeah, it was definitely cold. I don't want to say I'm glad I did it, but I'm glad I did it so that they would do it. But would I do that again? No.
What are you doing?
She won't move.
What do you mean she's not moving?
I mean, she's not moving.
Is she asleep?
Oh, shit, I know I booped her nose and nothing happened. Dang it, Luke. Control yourself, man.
Oh, Robin.
So then that takes us to our fourth and final day, which went by so nice. We shot our first kind of scene. It was so funny because this is the scene where Damien and Kay come across a dead woman in her house, but they don't know she's dead. But the audience knows she's dead. And so like the dramatic irony there is funny. But I was thinking as writing it, I was like, I don't know if people are gonna find this funny or not, you know, like what's it gonna do? And as we got to shooting, Brandon and Andrew's chemistry and just the way they acted really kind of took over.
The original script said that, I forget what it said, like I have to go up to her and then I like touch her face or something, like, and I'm like, hey, like, touch like that. And what I did instead is I was like about to touch her face and then I like didn't and picked up her own arm and hit her with it.
We all were cracking up so much when Brandon was using her arm to like tap her face and whatever like that. It was a lot of fun.
It took us a good, I think 30 minutes to get through one scene just because I was crying laughing. I could not control myself. That's how funny it was. So principal photography finished up and it was a really good experience, very laboring, a lot of emotional the stress, but it was a good feeling to be done, for sure.
It was kind of a relief when we were done that we were finished with the film. Not that it was a bad experience, but we were just ready to be finished with the project and keep moving forward with post-production and that kind of stuff.
So we can literally shoot the walk-up. I feel really good that we're done with principal photography. We actually shot in less days, which was interesting. That was more due to just scheduling, different scheduling, having to cancel shooting days. We roughly made this movie for about $250, which is under budget, which is dope. So I was happy about that. It's a good feeling that way. Editing takes super long though, so that's one area where it's like you could just kind of have to will yourself to do it. It's funny, every time I finish a project, I'm never wanting it to continue. I'm like, when it's done, it's done. Like, I am happy it's done, I get to sleep, I get to relax, and then edit. And then the funny thing is, during the editing stage, that's when I start to think of new ideas. So then I can actually start writing the next script or whatever. But definitely glad it's done.
If Luke came to me and asked me to do this again, I wouldn't even think about it. I'd be like, yeah, of course. Luke is a good friend, but I think it's more than that. I saw the potential of this film, and I saw the passion and just the heart that he puts into it, and just the excitement that he gets when when a shot goes really well, or about a certain line of dialogue or something in the film. So yeah, no question. I would totally work with Luke again.
Luke Guertler is very focused on set, which I appreciate. He's on top of it all. There's a bunch of weird camera equipment stuff that I didn't even know what they were, and he was like, "Oh yes, the Kerschniffel. Gotta have that, right?" He knew what he was doing 24/7. He was really adaptable on set. Sometimes a shot wouldn't work, and he'd be like, "Let's do it this way," and it would just work, and it was fun. He's very thorough. He makes sure he gets all his shots right. He's like by the book, I guess. He had like his little list right there. He's very organized. I think because I'm kind of like an amateur actor, having other people that were like, it's gonna sound like I'm insulting them, but like people that are about on the same skill level as me, I think. Like none of us are like professionals. I think it was kind of more of a fun environment that way.
I like the fact that Luke was able to keep a positive energy throughout the entire process. He expressed this to us early on in the process, that he was really trying to keep this positive energy in the room with all the actors and all the production, and just trying to keep it as light as possible. And he kept us cool throughout the entire process. I mean, you could tell he was getting stressed, but he never like freaked out. He never had a meltdown or anything like that. He was very cool about the whole thing, and I really was impressed with his ability to just keep level-headed and get through that.
When you go to make a video or a movie or whatever, and you want to make it well so that people receive it well, a couple things you need to do is just go and do it. If you're a writer, go write. If you're a director, go direct. If whatever it is you want to do it. If you just sit back and say, I want to do this, and not do it, other people are going to take your spot. Other people are going to go do it, and then you're just going to be sitting in the back. So you just have to motivate yourself to go do it, even if it sucks. But the amount of stuff I've learned and the amount I've improved just from watching my own stuff is crazy. Another bit of advice is, I would say audio. The audio is your most important thing. That's what really either disconnects or connects your audience. Because if they hear really echoey, not well mic'd, they're not gonna think of you the same as if they were watching something that was well mic'd. It almost seems less professional. But if you don't have those capabilities, still shoot. Like, don't let that discourage you. Still shoot, because that's the second rule. The first rule is just go out and do it. There's three things as a filmmaker you have to do. You have to read books, you have to watch movies, and you have to have a social life. There's something about books that you don't get in movies. I'm not really sure what it is. It's very mystical, but there's just something about it that influences movies and storytelling. And it's very important to honor that, respect that, and read those stories, because the amount of stuff that's in books is way more than movies. Movies are a very young medium, so you even have to explore way back to like Shakespeare. Then watching movies, it's important to watch movies, a lot of movies, like more than you think you should watch, because through that you know what's good, what's bad. You see what directors do, and you're like, oh, I want to do that. Me, especially with writing, especially with like Quentin Tarantino, Richard Linklater, Aaron Sorkin, all these guys, they're masters of dialogue. And to me, dialogue's the most important piece because it's a way of telling a story using exposition, but trying to figure out a way to use exposition without actually telling people what's happening. My favorite example is from Pulp Fiction. You have Jules and Vincent driving along in a car talking about McDonald's, weed, Amsterdam, and they're going to kill a guy. And like through that, you understand that this is an everyday job. These guys are hitmen because this is an everyday occurrence to them. Like it's so everyday that they're talking about McDonald's and they're not talking about how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna kill him? What are we gonna do? It's just natural. So using dialogue to tell a story without people knowing you're telling a story is important. So that's one thing I've garnered from watching movies. And then the third point is have a social life. This is something I'm still working on. When you're around other people, you pick up little quirks from people that might fit a character you want to do. You pick up scenarios, you hear stories. There's so many things within your social life that's important to storytelling. And the stories that I've gotten from people and actually used in just my writing is obscene.
22%.
How's it look though?
I like it.
Yeah?
You realize how long that's gonna be on my body?
Forever.
A fucking Sharpie. Written. I have to sleep with my wife eventually, and she's gonna be like, "What the fuck is that?"
Just go with it.
Just go with it, yeah. 22%. That's how many. That's how often you
That's how
orgasm,
devoted I am to
as
you,
opposed to
baby.
me.
Men and women jokes.
Right?
This was a huge learning experience for me. When I got done the first short film, I was like, all right, that was my learning experience. I'm good now. The next film I make, no problem. And I was totally wrong because you don't just learn things and then you're good. You learn things and then you learn more. So especially working with Brian, which was great, is Brian was able to kind of take me under his wing, even though he was technically under me, so to speak, and just kind of show me the ropes, call me out on things if it's like, hey man, why don't we do it this way? And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, let's do it that way. And even from the guys, like we added stuff to the script from one of our read-throughs that I would have never thought of. So I guess it's so redundant to say, but film is collaborative, art is collaborative, storytelling is collaborative. And when you collaborate with other people, you learn something. So always learning experience for sure. My GPA doesn't speak very highly of my abilities. I don't want to say didn't try, but I had other priorities that were more important. And so with that, it's going to be harder to get into grad school, especially a film grad school that might only take 50 students a semester. So I guess just having enough stuff under my belt that I'm proud of and can showcase this is what I can do before I graduate and start looking for a job is just better. So it's more of a crunch time for me. So just the fact that I have stuff that I can show other people and be proud of who might hire me. If I just wrote this script, it would die with me. So to create it, now I can showcase my writing ability as well as other things. It's like that was one thing that I just realized about Pulp Fiction is literally there's no B-roll. Every shot actually matters to the story, which is crazy. It's bonkers.
It's a great movie.
It's phenomenal.
If you could dream it, you could be it. Make it happen, believe, succeed in your endeavors. Never say never, whatever it is. Better to live and try than try not. Why not give it all you got? Take a shot. Perseverance overcomes resistance. Go the distance, never give up. If you're feeling stuck, seek assistance. Maneuver through obstacles with a vengeance. Yet logical, no pot of gold or rainbows. Stay open, don't let the gate close. When it rains and pours, stay on course, go for yours. When the going gets tough, stay strong, man up. Go get a stand up. Get your brand up, don't be left behind. Stay in stride, keep your eyes on the prize. Only a matter of time till you shine, think positive, and keep your dreams alive.
Keep your